UFC 310 is just days away, and I've seen this meme floating around of Shavkat Rakhmonov and Ian Garry. For Shavkat, it says, incredible resume, Neil Magny, Jeff Neal, 40-year-old wonder boy. And then for Ian Garry, it says, hasn't fought anyone good, Neil Magny, Jeff Neal, MVP. The point of this meme is to try to create a double standard and that fans are pretending that he has an incredible resume in Shavkat and ignoring Ian Garry's greatness or whatever they're trying to say here. But it's nonsense, okay? The reason why it's nonsense is because, for one, Ian Garry said he's the best striker in the world, and he took down MVP. So you're either the best striker in the world and you want to prove it, or you're not. You know what I mean? And he's not, because he didn't. And he took down MVP, which is fine. But it's just weird when you claim you're the best striker around and you have another striker who's like, hey, I'm over here, I'm actually the best striker, and rather than duking it out, you take him down to the floor. Now, of course, this is MMA, but again, Ian Garry is the one who, out of his mouth, said, I'm the best striker in the division and all things like this. So again, you gotta show and prove. Shavkat, on the other hand, I give him a pass for taking down a Wonderboy Thompson. Why? Because Shavkat never said he's the best striker. He's the best MMA fighter, he says. You get what I'm saying? There's a difference. So I hold you to a different standard. Now, with that said, finishes are more important. Shavkat Rakhmonov has finished all of his fights. Ian Garry hasn't. Ian Garry went the distance with Neil Magny. A Neil Magny, by the way, that looked terrible, okay? He looked terrible, and Ian should have finished that fight. Daniel Cormier was even saying in the commentary of that fight, he should be finishing this. I want to see a finish. Maybe I'm being too critical, blah, blah, blah. I don't think he's being too critical. I think if you're really the young, up-and-coming guy, you need to finish Neil Magny, like Shavkat did. You know what I mean? Mind you, Shavkat beat Neil Magny a year prior to Ian Garry, okay? Literally, 2022 for Shavkat, 2023 for Mr. Ian Garry. So Ian Garry couldn't finish, technically, I guess you would say maybe a worse version of Magny, because it's a year later, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know how you want to get to that, but you hear me on that. And then for Jeff Neal, again, like, bro, you have to finish your fights. You have to finish your fights. You cannot just be this guy who goes out there and walks on a tightrope and point fights and things like that. And it's cool, you're not necessarily the most likable person in the world, so you're going to sell tickets. People are going to want to see you lose, and I think a lot of people are going to get their money's worth this weekend. I think if you want to see Ian Garry lose, this is the time. You're going to see Shavkat Rakhmonov take away his O, and he will no longer be undefeated. It will be his first loss. It will be his most devastating loss, obviously, not only his only, but he's going to get finished, and it is what it is, man. It is what it is. You guys can make all the memes you want, but Shavkat Rakhmonov is better than Ian Garry. He showed it. Finishing fights matters, and finishing fights is what the fans ultimately want to see. I mean, tough contested barn burner fights are cool as well, but when it comes to just point fighting, I love Georges St. Pierre. He's one of my favorites of all time. But that's one of the critiques on his legacy, is that he wasn't super exciting. You know what I mean? He kind of just did the job and did what he had to do to get his hand raised, which, again, is fine. It works. It gets the job done. But, Anderson Silva was out there front kicking people in the face and kneeing them like Rich Franklin and, doing matrix moves and triangles in the 5th round against Chael Sonnen. It just, you remember it differently. You know what I'm saying? I'm going Shavkat Rakhmonov. It's a 5-round fight. I'm not going to pick the round. I don't think it goes into championship rounds. And if it does not go into the 5th. It goes into the 4th. So I'm going to say 3rd round. I'm going to say 3rd round finish by Shavkat Rakhmonov, and that's just what it's going to be. So let me know what you think in the comment section below, whether you agree, disagree. It does not matter. Just join the discussion. Also, leave a comment if you made it this far. Did you go the distance and hang out to the end? As always, you are all appreciated, and we'll see you next time.